Okay, I'm doing all right. It's been a big.
We're live, ladies.
Serious...
Carry on, but we're live.
Oh, I didn't realise we'd already started.
No, we've just started. We've just started.
Okay, excellent. Well, we're not saying anything that we don't want the world to know about. I'm here in severe lockdown. Unbelievable. And Mary, you're just saying not a mask in sight and everybody's free as a bird up there. I went for a walk yesterday, on Sunday, with my 86-year-old father on a local beach, sun shining, fresh air, and I don't wear a mask in a form of just standing up for what I know to be the truth. And a 75-year-old or so couple walked up to me and abused me, and I will not use the language here as we are recording, but I was called a effing bloody selfish C, abused in front of my 86-year-old father for exercising outside on a beach without a mask.
Oh no.
We have got into a situation here of people so asleep, so conditioned, so hypnotized and mind controlled that they are now policing each other in a violent, abusive manner with no understanding of what's going on here. So the sleeping people are a big issue because they cannot hear or perceive the truth. So that was a real shock to have that tirade of verbal abuse at me on a beach on a sunny Sunday afternoon with my 86-year-old father, social distancing, fresh air, breeze, exercising, and that's what you get here in Melbourne.
Can I
ask? So we are up against it.
Can I ask you, Maree, did you tell them that you're a medical doctor?
Look, at this point, I was so triggered in a sort of visceral response. I mean, to see what I would otherwise call a lovely elderly couple having a nice walk come directly in my face with my 86-year-old father, which I think was very lucky that he was with me, because I feel like my reaction, had he not been there, would have been fairly extreme, because I was, you know, I was very upset, but I actually just took the higher ground. I did not look sideways. I did not miss a beat. I continued speaking to my father in a gentle tone, walking forward, and let it go, because I just did not want to engage. Because what I've found with most people, if we bring in the information, it triggers something in them that sets off this sort of cascade of like, and their response just ramps up. So I just quietly walked away. But yeah, this is what we're up against, you know, freedom of speech, freedom of behaviours, you know, it is. And we've got people so grateful that we've got an extra hour now. Melbourne's allowed out till 9, and we have playgrounds open, and people are celebrating the shift in the lockdown to this level. So, and now we've got these stormtroopers that have appeared that are policing from this smart city network. These people, these police officers, seem to have already been mind controlled without compassion. They've been, I'd say, linked up already to the artificial intelligence, and they are marching forward without any form of compassion or care. Elderly people pulled off park benches, people pulled out of their homes, doors being bashed in, the fear, the lack of freedom, and the level that is being enforced on people is just getting, it's scary, really.
Let's really get into that today, and I just would like to introduce our guest today, Maree Rodwell and Maree Batchelor, who are both in Australia. Rennie Michelle can't join us today, but she's hoping that we can reschedule it. So I've gone ahead today because I thought it was more important to do. You know, I'm a great believer in what will be, and divine timing, and whoever turns up, and just to keep going and reschedule it. I don't know if you guys, you can probably hear that, but whenever I these days, whenever I do a Zoom interview, I always get guys calling me on Facebook. So that's what that is. Random guys who I don't know from Adam just seem to call me. And I do get, there's something I really wanted to go into, Maree, was targeting, because because I think
the targeting that is occurring is phenomenal now, trying to stop people from doing what we know to be true, to be in integrity, to be in the light, to be warriors of what's happening, you know, to bring in light around what's happening here. And the targeting has ramped up, and they're doing it through electronics, they're doing it through puppeteering other people. This is all about inciting fear, difficulty, separation, and you know, anybody who's bringing in the light, being effective, is being targeted to some point, I would say.
Yeah, and I think maybe we should really get into that today, because I know the last couple of months, especially since I started doing Zoom and interviews, I've really been targeted. Like, they've really stepped up their game, and I get targeted by military and black ops, and I'm starting to, for the last couple of years, I've really questioned if I've been under, oh, my memory is so bad these days. I really question if I've been under targeting from a young age. I forget what you call it now. Really Isley, Niera.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I'm starting to wonder if I've been targeted in the same way, where I just don't remember, because my memory is so bad these days.
Yeah, I'm absolutely seeing a lot of this now in the people that are stepping forward.
Maree, are you there?
It's a very early age, involving dysfunctional family setups, involving sexual interferences, military interferences, abduction, forms of milder versions of MK Ultra, if not the more severe cases, but milder forms of MK Ultra. Interferences by negative entities, interferences with their energies, with their thoughts, with their dreams, with their reality, interferences with sexual energies, to the point I've had people step forward who are very aware and awake, who will have certain interferences overnight, wake up with new energies. And one particular person that I was working with reported sexual energies lusting for children that had been introduced to him overnight. He knew well, was well aware this wasn't his energy, and he was able to clear it off, and with my help we did some great work. But this is the level of targeting. It is extreme. I'm also removing entities that are attached to people that are controlling their thoughts and behaviours, and this is really like an exorcism, and I wouldn't have believed it myself as I sit there with these people bringing in the high frequencies, and these entities will appear within them. They'll growl at me, they'll drool at me, they'll put people's eyes into contortions, physical positions of eyes that you couldn't possibly do yourself, because they're under the control of this entity that when we bring in the high frequencies will growl and drool and eventually will jump out and disappear. And the relief for the person who's been carrying this for some time, maybe a week, maybe 10 years. And this is what's going on, and people are not aware of this multi-dimensional game we're in of dark versus light. And when we're effective as light beings, we are, you know, there's a sort of a targeting that comes in to try and stop you doing what you're here to do. But having said that, I will also say that the light frequencies that are coming in, the benevolent energies that are coming in, and the thinning of the veil is greater than I've ever felt and seen. So we are getting amazing support, and I have a very positive feeling about the future for all of us. But things are ramping up. The challenges here are really showing themselves, revealing themselves. But our awareness is increasing, our abilities, our embodiment of light, our ability to self-purify and self-heal, all that was done to enslave us, is actually able to take place now at a greater, with a greater power and with a, you know, with a greater ability. So it is positive, but to be aware is so important, and to keep your personal reality bubble clean and in high frequency as a way of pushing back on this dark that wants to come in. And they're really screaming loudly now, the dark, really kicking up a fuss because they know this change is coming.
Yeah, it really is a battle between light and dark at its highest. Like, this is it now. Mary, what's your thoughts?
Well, Maree's put it together very, very well. What I'm finding from my work is more and more individuals want to consciously connect to not only the higher frequencies, but the intelligences that are supporting them. So that a lot of them are opening up multidimensionally, but they haven't, if you like, they haven't quite made that conscious enough so they can work with it. And that for them has been, you know, part of the important awakening of all of this. So I'm helping with that. My side is, right, you're nearly connected. Let's make this a conscious connection so you can now access the information with confidence, you know, to get whatever your non-human team is offering to you. You can start asking questions consciously, because one of the things that I've noticed with many that are being activated is they're aware of intuitively getting information, getting downloads and whatever, but not making that final step of actually making it a two-way conversation. And so a lot of my work is actually showing them, I'm saying, you're riding the bike, let me show you how to, you know, where the brakes are and where the lights are, etc., so that you can do this consciously. And also that brings in the confidence that goes with it. And the fascinating thing for me is that, as Maree knows very well, is that a lot of those that want to connect are either medical doctors, clinical psychologists, you know, all of those in the psychology field, of, well, when, you know, educators, all those that are in that support side of, if you like, the new children coming in and whatever. It seems like it's being set up for them to be connected so that they can work with the children, but also help others, you know, that are coming to them for help, whether it's a psychologist, as I say, or whatever. I've had right across the board. So that's been a lot of my work, is showing people how to connect, how to have confidence in their connection, how to validate it, what you need to look for, all those kinds of things. And I'm doing more of that than anything at the moment, which tells me something very loud and clear, that we have a wonderful activation going on this planet right now. And it is right across the board. It doesn't matter whether it's a farmer or a housewife It's, you know, it can be anyone in any field, from lawyers to celebrities that are having this experience. So my work seems to be very much about making this, normalizing this, and saying, you know, that this is okay. And by doing that, it's amazing how people have had the most incredible awareness and experiences once they feel confident to do this, rather than being afraid. And it's interesting how the ones that are most afraid that they're going around, you know, that they're losing the plot, are the ones within the psychology professions, because because they're being challenged with their own understanding of psychology and reality, the consensus reality, by these experiences that they're having. And some of them have gone through, you know, the what I call the mainstream route, where they've been medicated or taken to hospital because they've experienced this. There's been no understanding whatsoever of what's going on, and it's been the standard, well, we'll shut them down and stop this happening to them. And it's only later, when they get challenged again, when they start to open up again, they say, well, either I go that way, or I try and understand what it is that's going on for me. I'll see if I can. And I'm saying, this is the whole point. This is you waking up to who you are. This is innate in you. It's innate in humanity. When are people going to get that this is our normal reality? Is when we're operating multidimensionally, that this is our normal state, and we have been shut down over millennia by forces. You know, we call them the darker forces, with, you know, the dark and the light. But what we need to understand is that on a very tangible level, there are many of those in our, you know, people that have agendas on this planet that do not want you to connect to your source, do not want you to understand what's going on. And the only, you know, I have to say this, religions have also created a dogma that prevents you from accessing that, because the numbers of those that have had religious beliefs that have come to me saying, but I've been told this is, you know, it's all bad, that if I open up to this, and then I'm going to go crazy, or you know, the demons are going to get me, and what have you. So there's an enormous amount of fear in opening up to this. And Carol, you know that. I mean, the judgment that you get from people as soon as you start to say that you're perceiving beyond the norm, you know, and yet they don't realize that the one great thing with what's happening now in the hallowed halls of academia, if you like, is that they're starting to understand that it's about consciousness, that we are not just our physical container, that we are, that we have a consciousness, an essence, a spirit, a soul, whatever name you want to give that consciousness, that is separate to the body and can travel outside the body, and does travel outside the body, but also that is what is giving us our information multidimensionally, whether it's, you know, sensing, feeling, knowing, seeing beings, having communication with them, or whatever. That is our normal state. And so many beautiful souls over the generations and up to now that have not been allowed to access that, because they've been seen as a witch, or they've been seen as you know, a weirdo, or whatever, anything to shut down our source, which is what nurtures us and makes us make sense of this crazy, bad, B-grade movie we happen to be in at the moment, you know, as I call it. You know, it really is a bad B-grade movie, isn't it? You know, you wouldn't watch this on the telly. You really wouldn't.
Well, it is certainly unfolding that way for sure. And absolutely, the access now to these gifts and abilities that are our natural self are coming forward. And the people that are stepping forward to have sessions with me, I'm blown away by their level of receptivity and their understanding and their knowledge. But my assistance to clear off their programs of fear, self-doubt, self-concern, because we've been so heavily programmed into following the orders as the slaves, through the education, through the religion, as you're saying, Mary, through the legal system, the government, through our families, the culture, who's telling us this is wrong, this isn't right, you're going mad, what's happening to and, you know, really supporting each other as this process is happening. It's happening across the world across all sorts of people. And we need to be supporting this process that is so important for our evolution of humanity.
And I find that when I get targeted, I kind of retreat away from being out there in the public eye. I retreat and I try and deal with it. So it doesn't stop me, but it does slow me down, because then I'm running to when it eases off, then I'm running to catch up with stuff, which is what I'm kind of in and out of at the moment. So
it triggers this anxiety. The targeting is designed to trigger anxiety and fear, to get you to slow down, to get you to be quiet. And you'll find it physically draining, energetically draining, and mentally confusing at times. And this is the purpose of it. And this is where we need to strengthen that light embodiment of who we really are, and push back and not consent to any of this that is going on. And know that in the end, we are going to be okay, and drop that self-concern and keep going, one foot in front of the other, holding that light. And eventually it gets easier and easier, and you almost can laugh at it as it comes up, because it's becoming so obvious, the patterning of it and how they're doing it and what they're doing, and actually learn to handle it from a state of ease and peace, because they want you agitated. And that's how we're feeding, we're being uploaded. Those negative responses, our agitation, our fears are being harvested. That's what's feeding this dark. And so when we learn to control that, we learn to get rid of it, it stops this upload, this harvesting that's taking place.
Can I just
It's not easy. It's not easy. It is not easy, but it's doable.
Can I just add to that, Maree? Because, well, I kind of want to throw it out there a bit as well to you and Mary. But what I noticed, I mean, I've noticed for quite a while that I've been targeted on Facebook, but I haven't really been able to pinpoint it. And the last couple of days, I've consciously been able to pinpoint that I'm being targeted through, I'm going to drop the F and the B. I'm being targeted through ACERN, through sound particularly. Now, yeah, that's what I got the other day. So, and I don't think that is one guy in his bedroom doing it. I think it's more organized than that. I think, and when you look at ACERN and the other social media sites, a lot of them, well, most of them have seemed to be, to me anyway, seem to be set up so that they get all our information and our details, and they suck us in, and we share so much of our personal stuff on there that they know who we are, where we are, they know the light workers, they know so much information about us, and use it against us to target us. And because I know I'm not alone, I know I'm not an isolated case. I know there's thousands of people out there being targeted. And I also know that I was on the swimming yesterday. I spent the whole day swimming, and I noticed it, and I noticed that I've noticed it for a while, but I really kind of fully acknowledged it, or acknowledged it more yesterday, where I was like, okay, my awareness has really increased, where I'm able to go, my ability to sense energy around me has really expanded. So where maybe it was 30 foot, now it's like 130 foot. It's really expanded. And a couple of months ago, I was in my local supermarket, and I could feel something above my head. And Mary, I don't know if I told you this, but I could feel something above my head, like an energy, and I didn't know what it was. And I was looking up and trying to see what it was. And in the ceiling of the supermarket, which must have been about 100 foot, because it's a big supermarket, there's a window, there's a skylight, and it was a bird. It was just a bird. So it was nothing for me to worry about. But but yesterday I really, I think I probably accepted it, is the word, accepted it within myself, that, okay, my awareness has got more. So, and I know whatever I go through, that there's always other people going through similar things. It's all to do with astrology as well. So what's your thoughts on that? I'll just throw it open. Maybe we could just go round
yeah. Look, there's so many ways that they can target. There's so many, they can target through friends, through family, puppeteering them, setting up scenarios, and trying to cause dysfunction between people and their connections to isolate you. They can use electronic devices. They can use energies that they can insert, play with, interfere with. We can have entities that are attaching and siphoning off our energies, forms of mind control and inserts of dream states, waking up in the morning feeling like something's really wrong when really nothing's happened in your reality, but getting you to hook into a drama that, trying to feed you into some fears. But it's all, I see, a part of our expansion and training. Do we need it? No. If they turned on the light to the full level, we'd actually get all of this sorted within 24, 48 hours and be in our loving state with peace, joy, well-being, and that connection to source light flooding through us. But as that's not possible, we use all of this that we're experiencing as a form of training, and it increases our awareness and our ability to get grounded, get very embodied, and be able to push back. And our wisdom, our knowledge, and our understanding expands exponentially. And I know through the challenges that I've had, even in the last 5 years, the exponential growth and ability to embody more light and be an effective worker and have the compassion and understanding for people has increased at such an exponential rate that we just have to see it as a form of training, an awareness through the experience to understand the dynamics of this multi-dimensional holographic virtual reality matrix system that we're in. And so we then bring our stories together to bring in pieces of the puzzle to be able to understand more of what's going on here. So it's unfortunate, it's not pleasant, but so many people are going through this at the moment, and we know that we'll get through it. Have a level of trust, drop the self-concern, and get as quiet and peaceful as you can to really access ways to cope with this, knowing the light is assisting and helping as much as they can.
Wow. Mary?
Yeah. I think all of that is so important. When people come to me and there is all that confusion and what have you, that of what they're experiencing, how to understand it and whatever, one of the most important things is that they connect to their own source of information multidimensionally. But that when people get into the real fear place, one of the things that became very clear to me is we as a soul have incarnated to have this experience, all of this, everything has been very clear. When I did hypnosis, people recalling how before their life they would make choices about what kind of parents they would have, what kind of siblings they would have, what kind of challenges they would set up for themselves in this soul's journey this time round, etc. And I'm saying, don't you think that your soul would give you all the tools that you need to deal with anything that you are faced with in that human experience? Because otherwise it would be illogical, as Spock would say. The bottom line is we have it all. The problem has been that when we incarnate, we are told by almost every source around us that we're not good enough, we can't do this, that we've got to be trained to believe this, or we're told that we are not capable of X, Y, and Z. The whole thing is about destabilizing our knowing, our awareness, our truth. And so I see it almost as a journey to challenging the fears that we are surrounded by. We're not good enough, we can't do this, someone knows more than we do. If we do that, well, if we haven't got the pieces of paper, we're definitely not good enough. We're stupid, we're all these things. This is the attack that we have when we come onto this planet. And it's about saying, okay, are you going to let that affect you and who you are and what you've come in as a sovereign being, knowing that you have all the tools that you need to deal with anything that you are faced with. And all this other stuff is mind talk to challenge you to own yourself, to own who you are and what your connection is to the source, however you see that. One of the things that came to me some years ago when I was questioning, and I said to, what I say to people is this: do you believe you're an aspect of the source? And of course, everyone says, well, yes, I believe I'm part of God, the source, universal consciousness, whatever name you want to give it. And I'll say, yes, of course. And I'll say to them, is anything greater than that source? And they'll go, well, no, there's nothing greater than that. So what are you afraid of? If you're part of that source, the only time you're going to be afraid is if you believe someone is more powerful than you are. That's about your belief. And that is not true, because you're part of the source and there's nothing greater than that. So it's only if you believe so, you give them the power. So this is about you trusting your connection, trusting your team, however you see that, as your superconscious, your higher self, your oversoul, or you see it as different beings, angels, spirit guides. It really doesn't matter. That allows you the vehicle, the conduit for this information that enables you then to understand the bigger picture. And they will support then everything that you don't understand in this 3D world or that is challenging you. Ask yourself why that challenge has come and what do you need as this super conscious connection to the source. What do you need to deal with it? And it's usually about, first of all, no longer buying into the fear, because it's really like a shamanic wake-up call. The shaman has to transcend their human fears so they can operate multidimensionally. And this is what we're being challenged now to do, is transcend the human fears so that we can be the shaman that operates multidimensionally and understands the multidimensional world, because otherwise we can't deal with that if we don't deal with this. So for me, you've got the tools. Let's start looking at how you can decide how you choose now to deal with what comes to you. So that's sort of my focus, really, is saying, really, you're the guru, you're your own teacher. How about we find out where your tools are? Where's the toolkit? And take it from there.
It is so important to remember our source connection, and that we are more powerful than anything they can do to us, that we are infinite. However, a lot of the teachings that I have now sort of dismissed, things like you're attracting it, this is your, karma, this is your fault, this is your belief system, you're doing this. If you didn't believe in the dark, you wouldn't actually have these challenges or these problems. And I think that that's an understanding that I don't align with. I think that it really is in relation to how bright a light people are, that they are getting this level of interference and challenge and attack. I think it actually is to do with how effective you are. And I feel like so much of this has been the dark interfering to stop this evolution. But I have no doubt that we are capable of overcoming what they've done for us. But I see a lot of people when they come to see me and they say, oh, I know this is my fault and I've created this and I've manifested this, and I really don't agree with that. And I take away from people that guilt that they carry, that it's their fault because that just adds another layer to what they're trying to overcome. And we really need to get rid of the guilt around what's happened to us, what's been occurring, because we haven't been directly manifesting it. Some of it is just absolute interference, not your fault. And so we need a level of forgiveness and compassion for ourselves. And even our fears and our beliefs are not our fault, because so much of that has been programmed in over lifetimes and in this lifetime. So a level of forgiveness and letting go of guilt and shame and self-doubt and blame, and then the projections that come where we project onto other people and blaming them. I have to become very clear, very self-responsible and very empowered, dropping these negative states of self-concern and self-doubt and blame.
And also disbelief within ourselves that what we're experiencing is real. It may not be physical in the sense that it's not physical. For example, my granddad is real, but he's not physical, he's in spirit. So it's real, but it's not
well, it's not physically tangible, and therefore you don't get a lot of support from other people, because this is the information that they can't access. So there's not a lot of support for people going through this, because it's so out of their realm of understanding. So that's another block to a lot of this, is that the lack of support for what people are going through. And so that's also very isolating. Feeling judged, feeling misunderstood. And even in the awakening community, when people come in and say that you've created this, that you've manifested this, and this is your fault through your own beliefs and your own shadow self, I don't believe that's the case. So it is a very difficult thing, and it is very challenging, because we're dealing with multidimensional interferences. We're dealing with off-world negative entities. We're dealing with unseen directed energy weapons, mind control. We're dealing with things that can be implanted that can cause physical symptoms, can cause movements that unwanted movements, unwanted symptoms of anxiety and fear that can be actually produced from something outside of you.
And illness.
So absolutely illness, for sure. So it's a very complex situation, and it's very different for each individual. And also the judgment that people have, because they cannot understand it, is very hard for people to navigate as well.
I had a conversation, this was back in February, where I had got in touch with someone for some healing to do with being targeted. And I was telling him that I was being watched, and I was being watched from the local car park, which I can see from my window, my kitchen window and my lounge window, because they both face the car park. And this was on the phone, and I was speaking to him about it, and he was saying, yeah. And he was awake, aware and conscious. And I was saying which car I thought it was. And then the next day, you'll never believe this, but the next day, 2 guys walked past beneath my window. And the sound around where I live really echoes because there's a huge wall. So I've got my car park, and behind that there's a huge wall, which is the supermarket wall. So any sound bounces back. But and it's very echoey around here, so you can really hear what people are saying outside. And 2 guys walked beneath my window, kitchen window, and they were saying something. And then one guy said very clearly, and yeah, but she got the wrong car. So I just thought, okay, gotcha. And I it was because it was to me, it was just very blindingly obvious. And I told him about it, and he said, no, you got the right car. So yeah, anyway, sorry.
Well, just such incredible experiences that if you tried to explain that to somebody, they would really think you're going mad, that that there's cars outside watching you, that there's, people walking past the windows speaking about these subjects. But, the Men in Black are based on something very real. So the level of military technology that can be introduced to interfere with people, the experimentation that is done on people to test things, to see how they respond, using civilians to try out their latest technologies or their toxins or their whatever it is. So it's a tricky game. However, I agree with Mary, connecting to source light, knowing that we are these powerful beings, and it is because of that interference where we've forgotten who we are, that we've lost the confidence and the ability to stand up to bullying, knowing that we've got this high frequency that's accessible to us. If we get in the present moment, releasing those fears and doubts about who we are, flooding ourselves with the light, we're very powerful, very magical, and can overcome all of this.
And that's, in my understanding, that's why we're here. That's why we're here. When COVID kicked off, I went into the garden and I connected to the Pleiadians again and channeled them, because I hadn't for a while. And they said to me that because I knew I was here for a purpose and mission and what it was, and I thought I did. Well, I do, but what I hadn't realised is that there was a singular event which is what we're in now, that would occur, and that's why we're here. It's for this event of the mass awakening, because I just thought it was through my whole lifetime. I hadn't realised it was an event. And to me, that is really, it empowers me even more, because I feel that for me, it's beautiful that I'm here, not just for my mission and purpose, but actually through my whole lifetime, but actually for an event which is a mass uprising of awareness and consciousness. And the final battle is another article that I channeled, or piece of writing that I channeled, where this is this is the shift hitting the fan and the last battle, and everything is heightened, everything is, we're in the midst of war between light and dark, so everything is very intense. But I do see more light coming in at the end of the year. Sorry, in January 2021, I see more light coming in. I don't know how that's going to unfold. I just feel more light coming in, and a receding of the darker energies who are trying to.
One of the things.
Sorry, Mary, go on.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you. What I was going to say is, when you mentioned the Pleiadian side of this, one of the latest things that's come through the Australian Indigenous peoples is what they call the magic box, that's going to be activated in December. And Maree may know about this, but let me just read this bit. On the 21st of December 2020, the magic box, which is a rock that contains a crystal, will be opened by 12 Indigenous elders at Uluru in Australia. The box contains Pleiadian technology that may or may not release a beneficial frequency, an emission, depending on the goodness of mankind. And that is to actually literally bring that activation to all of those that are ready. And this is something they've talked about for many years, is this prophecy. And it's the 21st of December this year. And it's funny that I get such a buzz when I read that, which is lovely. But that is just here in Australia. Who knows whether there's, and I suspect there is, that this is going to be part of some other part of this shift that is going on, and will be activated even more with these kinds of technologies from, you know, the star family, that's saying,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this is time now. And I'm that I feel is, you know, for me, it's very reassuring to have that sense of support that we have from the team, as I call it, my, you know, our team, the family, the ancestors, whatever name you want to give it. And, you know, these lovely little nuggets of light that keep us on track so that we don't get pulled down too much to the lower frequencies and what have you. And it's interesting, Carol, that you were mentioning how you've been aware of an expansion. Many people have been telling me they've been seeing two realities, and sometimes it's actually they're struggling to work out which is, you know, their reality, because they are seeing through the you know, through the dimensions. It is thinning, and it's been very confusing for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, I'm getting people reporting that as well. And these, flipping in and out of different dimensions, different frequencies, different realities. As we're anchoring in more light, each of us is a portal to these high frequencies. And the more work we do on ourselves, clearing the density and bringing in more light, self-activating, self-purifying and healing from these organic technologies we have inside of us, the DNA and the codes within us, to bring in the light and become these amazing conduits. And we're anchoring in these higher frequencies so that each step then builds. And so by the time we get to January, everything's set up, ready for a further activation. So definitely I think we're getting more frequency coming in now. Each week I just wake up and go, wow, there's more. My work's getting more powerful. People's receptivity is getting more powerful. And so something amazing is going on, and it is always important to focus on that aspect of this while all of this other stuff is going on. That positive shift is taking place, and many people are reporting it. So, you know, we're just bringing it in, pushing back on the dark, becoming the observers of all of this that is happening, becoming the experiencers of all of this that's happening. It's an incredible time.
It really is an incredible time, and it's the darkest before the dawn, the darkest time before the dawn. Mary, would you be able to send me the link for the 21st of December 2020, and I will share it in the YouTube description.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a couple of researchers in Australia that are doing online conferences, and I did one with them a few months ago, I think it is now, and they're the ones that are connected to the elders, and they've been told not only about this prophecy, but actually Stephen and Even Strong, they're actually going into depth into exactly what's happening with this. And it's quite fascinating, but it's all about the awareness. If we are receptive enough, there's enough of us awake to actually take on this frequency. It's all about, are we going to be ready to take on this frequency? And if we are, then that is what's going to create the shift. So this is about everyone waking up that needs to look at that and focus on, you know, expansion. And that, of course, is why...
Oh, sorry to interrupt. That's, of course, why the dark is ramping up so much now with all of this virus madness and the police state and the control and the social isolation and staying indoors and being in fear. It's a distraction, and also, you know, implementing further levels of control and sabotage so that we don't recognize this light that is coming in, and we are, you know, locked away in fear. And that is why it is important to have this very balanced approach, to see the 3D reality and then go, but that's actually just one screen that we're looking at, and there's a lot of other things going on. And remember, as this is ramping up, that information that we're seeing in the 3D is getting louder and louder. More fear, more control, more sabotage, more threats. And that's because there's a lot of light being blasted onto these paradigms to destroy them. So we just have to keep balanced in our approach to what's going on.
And to keep grounded. For me, I've always struggled with being grounded, but especially lately, because it's been so intense. I've really had to. I've really been kind of struggling to get grounded. So yesterday I spent the day in the sea, which was just it was fantastic. It was beautiful, you know, just to be there, and just to be there. In the now, in the here and now, and not be caught up in all the other stuff that comes at me. No, just to be in the here and now and to be grounded. So, and there seems to be a huge divide of awake and unawake, masked and unmasked people. Huge divide between people. And going back to what you were saying at the beginning of this, Maree, where you were saying that being verbally attacked by a guy on the beach for not wearing a mask.
Yeah, no, incredible. And this is, we have to become you know, comfortable being uncomfortable at times as we stand up for the truth, so that we can stand, you know, for what's right for humanity, despite what the people around us and what the masses may be believing, because it is important for us to hold this light, hold the truth. And it is uncomfortable at times, but then retreating into nature, as you say, getting grounded, connecting with animals, with children, and knowing that that light that runs through nature, through people, through kids, through animals, is what's true. And the rest of it is this sort of virtual reality, as you say, Mary, a B-grade movie playing out in front of our eyes, and see it for this sort of experience that's happening, and stay out of this fear. Because as I keep saying, the fear is lowering our frequencies, and that's when things will come in and activate the old programs that have been energetically imprinted in our subconscious, and the programs and the energetic imprints in the emotional body. And the go-to is always fear. And that programming is veiling our sense of self and veiling our sense of reality, taking us out of the present moment into the past with guilt and shame, or into the future with what's going to happen, will I be okay? And we need to drop those fears, become very present, unhook from time, which is being used to control us, and get very present and clear those thoughts. Any negative thought state is not ours, it's a program. We are peace, love, joy, and well-being. Anything that's telling us otherwise is a program that does this to us. We are not designed to be doing this to ourselves, finished with this. Anything that's doing that is coming from external sources or programs that have been implanted in us over lifetimes or this lifetime. And that's what we work on, removing those states of fear, the programs, the energetic imprints. And we're often not even aware that they're there, these subconscious programs that our ego hooks into very quickly in a reaction. And it's only after you've reacted to something where you can settle back down and go, wow, I was a little bit triggered there. I didn't even know I felt so strongly about that. And that is because these are subconscious programs that come up in states of fear to protect ourselves, but it's a sabotaging way of protecting, because it creates more division, more separation, and more fear. So quietening ourselves down, clearing these programs, these parasitic thought forms, and getting into a state of quiet and connectedness and in nature is ideal. And getting in the body, a lot of people think Ascension is getting out, going somewhere else. It's in the body. And now more than ever, we have to get in. The light has to come in through our body, connecting us to earth as conduits of this light. And that's what Ascension is. It's in body. And using our bodies as portals and traveling within ourselves through our hearts and through the spaciousness that we are, and opening up to these higher dimensions. And this new earth shift is not another location, it's a frequency. It happens in the here and now in terms of how much we're embodying in the light and what level we're tapping into in terms of frequency. And as we embody more light, we get more access to these high dimensional benevolent assistants, the realms up there that can support us, will become more evident. As you increase your frequencies, you're meeting these other energies that can be very supportive.
Thank you, Maree. Mary?
Well, absolutely.
Are you still there? Have I lost the connection? Oh, well, there you go. See?